Hare Krishna, everyone. We'll start with the prayers to the spiritual master. Om Gyanam Timirandhasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so this time we are continuing with chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita. I believe this is where we left off halfway last time. We were speaking about, so Arjuna asks a certain number of questions, and these are the 6 questions that he asks. 6 or 7, depending on how you count them. He asks, what is nature? What is Purusha, the enjoyer? What is Kshetra, the field of activities? What is Kshetragya, the knower of the field of activities? What is Jnana, the knowledge and the process of knowing? And what is Gyeya, the object of knowledge? So these are the 6 things that that are known to us. And Krishna is answering these questions one by one. Last time, we pretty much covered the first few. So we mainly talked about Kshetra and Kshetragya, the field of activities, which is the body and the world, and Kshetragya, which is the knower, the soul. And so now we will continue on forward. We talked about the different levels of consciousness of the Purusha, how when we are born, it's simply all about food. Then we become more aware of our survival. And Prakriti, the 5 great elements. We talked about the body and Prakriti. This is the field of activities that the soul inheres in, that it acts in. And then I believe this is the place where we stopped. We stopped at text 7. And now we will discuss what is knowledge and the process of acquiring knowledge, and Gyeya, what is to be known. This is very interesting for those, all of you, I mean, not all of you maybe, except for Om, are educating younger ones, maybe your children, other younger ones. Um, so uh, uh, everyone is an educator. And what's very interesting here, even Om is, educating his friends, is that knowledge and the process of acquiring knowledge are the same thing. If we don't have the right process of acquiring knowledge or the right mood to acquire knowledge, then we don't have knowledge. Very interesting point here. This is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate source of knowledge, the most intelligent person, the omniscient person, the best educator. He's telling us that knowledge and the process of acquiring knowledge, you think, why is it the same word? I mean, these are two different things. Right? You have knowledge and then you have, well, I go to this school or that school. No, they're the same thing because they're inseparable. The description of jnana, the process of acquiring knowledge, and gyeya, that which is to be known. Jnana refers to knowledge and the process. Jnana, cultivation of the qualities described here, is the real method of acquiring knowledge. It's very interesting that in the Gurukul system, for millions and millions of years, the focus was on the qualities, cultivation of the qualities in a person. And if we cultivate the qualities, then the knowledge itself appears. No one can stop that mind, that person, that intelligence from soaking in the knowledge. They'll get more than what the teacher is expecting. Today is the New York Rath Yatra, so that is a very special day, actually. Compared to the Ishopanishad Mantra 10 purport, in your own time, you can do that. In the Ishopanishad also, you study the same thing. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, text 8 to 12, I told you before that these verses will go faster because these are everything. All knowledge is this, Krishna says. And interesting, you'll see most of these are qualities. Let's see what Krishna says. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and beside this, whatever there may be, is ignorance. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity. I mean, these are the approaching a bona fide spiritual master. These are the 6 qualities of knowledge that Krishna mentions first. And what is the very first quality of acquiring knowledge? What is the first quality of knowledge? What is the first element of knowledge? Remember, jnana refers to knowledge and the process of acquiring knowledge. It is humility. And what is the first quality of ignorance that Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita? I believe in chapter 18. Anyone know that?
I'm not this body. It's, like
Good try. The first
it's
quality of those who are
I'm
ignorant. Say that again.
right.
Pride. Damba. Damba, Darpa, something like that. That verse goes. The first quality of ignorance is pride. The first quality of knowledge is humility. And Just so we get the point, he says humility, then he says pridelessness. He then says the same thing in another way and makes it the first two. How important is this quality? Right? This was actually, again, the Gurukul system, that the main teaching of the Gurukul system was to teach the children how to respect, how to value their seniors, how to value the teacher. The first quality and the only quality that was taught is respect. And that's why the disciple would, the student would serve the spiritual master, cut wood for them, bring them, treat them with so much honor and respect. And if that quality was cultivated, then all the other qualities in life developed. The child would immediately learn all the arts because they valued the source of knowledge. If they valued and saw the value in the scriptures, in the teachers, in the elders, then there's nothing that would stop them from progressing forward. There's nothing in the world. It's like every person can become uh, the an expert on anything, given that they have a good coach, right? A good guide. If they have an expert teacher, all these Olympics, the top athletes, when they win, then it's a great success for them and their coach. You'll see next to them, the coach will stand and they raise the hand like this. Why? I mean, they're not the athlete. The coach just sits there, and looks at them because every person knows that so many good athletes are there, but the ones who win, they have the best coaches, the best guides. So it's the advisor in business also, and all these things that a person receives that actually makes a person uh, progress in spiritual life, in mature life, in any form of knowledge. And so these are the two qualities: humility, pridelessness, then non-violence, ahimsa. Right? So this was part of the education. One can say, oh, well, this is why people were naturally prone to non-violence before. This is not something we teach in our classrooms now. A course in non-violence, in high school, on how to be non-violent, how not to kill bugs, how not to kill animals. Tolerance, how to be tolerant. This is not a quality that is seen at all. People say we should be intolerant. Simplicity, approaching a simplicity, being simple at heart, not complicated, duplicitous. So the materialists, the demons, like Prahlad Maharaj said, they're always speaking about friends and enemies. But a devotee of the Lord doesn't see one as a friend and enemy. Their mind and heart is very simple. The importance, again, of approaching a bona fide spiritual master, which means, again, humility, surrendering oneself to a spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control. Self-control, right? In modern society, you can do whatever you like, take drugs, have sex, have intoxication, have watch any movies you like. Like, why should there be any discipline, any control? And then it's very bad. Oh, how dare the parents? They're repressing their children. But before, it was a teaching that no, there's a joy in austerity. There's a joy in austerity. There's a joy in self-control. There's a great happiness and inner bliss one feels in renouncing the objects of sense gratification. Then knowledge meant absence of false ego, another quality of humility and pridelessness. These are all different varieties you can see of qualities that relate with the first two. No false ego, only real ego, that I am a servant of Krishna. And then Bhagavad Gita, perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, seeing things as them are, detachment. So this is why the kings of previous time, at the age of 50, they could just walk away. So how is that possible? Because they were trained from the very beginning. They received the education they received was to be detached. Just I was hearing a class of Srila Prabhupada this morning, and he said, why we are chasing after money so much? Aren't there rags on the street to wear? Don't we have trees to lie under? So this type of mindset, it has to be developed from day one, from one's childhood, so then later on one can easily detach the world. Freedom from the entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest. Again, Prabhupada is saying the same thing, that the whole material conception or the whole material life is family. And that's why he was saying the sannyas, the brahmachari, is liberated, is already pretty much liberated. Because the whole entanglement is family life. We get out of that, then there's no attachment. Very easy to detach the world. Of course, we can get attached to other things. We have to be careful. But the main attachment is family life. Even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events. Again, steadiness of mind. Even-mindedness, not becoming uh, uh, too engrossed in the ups and downs of this material world. Being steady in mind. Most important quality, constant and unalloyed devotion to me. Right? It becomes part of us to be devoted to the Lord. Everything I'm doing is for the Lord, worshiping the Lord, aspiring to live in a solitary place, being, living in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people. So being detached, accepting the importance of self-realization. So detachment from the general mass of people, that a person in knowledge actually doesn't need um, worship and people and the masses of people. Their real interest is in the holy name of Krishna. Okay, I have something, I don't have something, I have something to do, but my main attachment is to Krishna's holy name. And then I do whatever is needed for Krishna's service. But I am satisfied with my inner spiritual development, the importance of self-realization, and finally, the philosophical truth, the philosophical search for the absolute truth. Right? That is the main thing, searching after the supreme truth, the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be, is ignorance. So, main purpose of education before was not engineering or computer science. The main purpose of education before was uh, education, the heart of education was searching for the absolute truth. So now we'll go in more detail into how Prabhupada explains these things in his purports, because this is the essence, the heart of this chapter. So Prabhupada defines humility as one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. Honor will come naturally with devotion to Krishna, like we see in the story of Madhavendra Puri. Honor and fame and respect follows a devotee when they don't want it, when they're only interested in serving Krishna. Pridelessness. People are very anxious to be famous for their religion. That's how he defines pridelessness. So, what is the difference between the two? Is this non-violence, not to put others into distress. So, non-violence doesn't just mean not killing someone. It also means that we don't put others in distress. No one is disturbed by the activities of a devotee other than those who are evil. They are disturbed, but they don't want to put others into distress. Tolerance. One should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. Wow, what an amazing thing. These are the qualities one has to develop to, Lord Chaitanya said, to chant the holy name of the Lord constantly, right? Humility and tolerance. So, how can one do that? How can one chant without disturbance? One can do that only when one is humble oneself. If we are prideful, then our mind will always be agitated. If we're not looking for anything, then we will be peaceful. And even more difficult and more important is when we are humble, people will still insult us. And tolerance means one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. It should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. And if we are practiced in that, which happens after some years of practicing Krishna consciousness, then one can chant peacefully. So, okay, he insulted me, she insulted me, but it doesn't matter because I'm just a small living entity and Krishna is the supreme controller and Krishna will rectify things. Simplicity. Without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward that he can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. Hmm. Approaching a bona fide spiritual master. That is essential because without the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot progress in spiritual science. One should approach the spiritual master with all humility and offer him all services so that he will be pleased to bestow his blessings upon the disciple. Because a bona fide spiritual master is a representative of Krishna. If he bestows any blessings upon his disciple, that will make the disciple immediately advanced without the disciples following the regulated principles. Or the regulated principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation. So nice. Or the regulated principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation. So one cannot progress in spiritual life. And the spiritual master is our first test in humility. Prabhupada in one place says that we have to surrender and serve the spiritual master because that is a practice in humility. And once we are expert in that, then this is our training so that then we will be able to see every living entity as like a spiritual master and be able to be humble towards every living entity. So it's not that we are humble only to the spiritual master and not anyone else, but rather by being humble to the spiritual master, we learn the art of humility so that we can be humble and see every spiritual master as a representative of our spiritual master and treat them with great respect. And then by the blessings of the spiritual master, the disciple immediately makes advancement, even without the disciples following the regulated principles. So that doesn't mean that the disciple doesn't have to follow the regulated principles. But even if there's some mistake in it, or one is still not practiced in it, perfected in it, Prabhupada is saying that by serving the spiritual master, that is the ultimate regulated principle, one can make advancement, even if one's following the regulated principles is imperfect. And why does it not mean that, one can make advancement even without following the regulated principles? Because one of the main instructions of the spiritual master, of the bona fide spiritual master, is to follow the regulated principles. So how can one serve the spiritual master if one's not following the regulated principles? Just like every person in ISKCON who takes the initiation follows the 4 rules and regulations. Or the regulated principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation. This is Prabhupada is then giving this thing that it's not that we don't follow, but rather they become easier by the blessing of the spiritual master. Cleanliness. External cleanliness means taking a bath. But for internal cleanliness, one has to think of Krishna always and chant Hare Krishna. So both are necessary. We should wake up in the morning and take a bath. We should wake up in the morning and we should chant. By chanting and taking a bath, we become internally and externally cleansed. The internal cleanliness is more important. The chanting is most important. Steadiness. One should be very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Hmm. That is steadiness. That not that one day we are determined, another day we are not. Every day we are very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Self-control. One should not accept anything which is detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. A nice picture here. Mhm. One should only accept those things which are good for our spiritual progress, something that is very hard actually to do. Just like at night, if there's a nice feast, then we're drawn to eat it. Even though we know it's not good for my spiritual progress, I will sleep more and then I will miss Mangalartik in the morning. But we are forced. The tongue should always be engaged in tasting the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. As far as the eyes are concerned, they should not be allowed to see anything but the beautiful form of Krishna. That will control the eyes. Similarly, the ears should be engaged in hearing about Krishna, and the nose in smelling the flowers offered to Krishna. Wow, so nice. Every sense is perfectly controlled by perfectly engaging it in Krishna's service, by fully utilizing it, tasty prasadam, chanting Hare Krishna, seeing beautiful forms, but everything Krishna. Absence of false ego. When the sense of I am is applied to this false ego, it is false ego. When the sense of self is applied to reality, that is real ego. Hmm? We cannot give up our ego because ego means identity. We ought, of course, to give up the false identification with the body. Hmm. So when false ego is simply when I say I am this body, I am is applied to the body, right? And if we are a soul, then we um, also have an I. It's not the abolition of the I, like the Buddhists and the monists say, but rather it is recognizing what is the real I. It is the spirit soul, bomb-proof, fireproof, waterproof, windproof, 100% transcendental. The perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease. These are the evils of this world. We think that, oh, it's so wonderful. But actually, it is unfortunate when a soul is born into this world of birth, death, old age, and disease. It's very troublesome. And of course, disease, old age, death, no one likes. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this mature life, considering the distresses of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. As for detachment from children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should have no feeling for these. They are natural objects of affection, but when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. Mm. So we should be very attached to them. But in the Krishna book, it said that how 4 in the morning, when it was 4 in the morning, that Krishna would immediately wake up from his bed while he was being embraced by his wife, Rukmini or Satyabhama. He would still uh, get up from his bed and start his morning program. start his meditation upon himself. So, showing the perfect example, Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, of an ideal householder. So he was attached, but when it was time for spiritual life, then he showed this is now more important. So they're natural objects of affection, but when they're not favorable to spiritual progress, or in other words, when there's a need for performing our spiritual duties, one should not be attached to them. Similarly, at the end of life, at the age of 50, one has to detach from the family and all those things, husband, wife, they go to places of pilgrimage. And then at the age of 75, completely detached. Freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Have some discussions on books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and engage oneself in deity worship. One should train the members of his family in this way. The family members can sit down morning and evening and chant together Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness, following these four principles, then there is no need to change from family life to renounced life. So, the ultimate solution is to make our family Krishna conscious. And if we chant, again, Prabhupada mentions twice the Maha Mantra. If we chant, then we can even remain in family life, and there's no need to change to renounced order of life. If one is engaged in chanting and following the four regulated principles, and engaging oneself in deity worship, and reading of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, right? This is the process right here. It's being described. This is the process. How can we have a perfect family life is being described here. If the focus is Krishna, we are discussing the books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam together. We are chanting together. We're engaged in deity worship. Of course, we'll have to do our work. We'll have to do education, all these things. But we always find time for these things. Then family life is perfect. Even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events. One can never restrict the coming and going of happiness and distress. So one should be detached from the materialistic way of life and be automatically equipoised in both cases. Constant and unalloyed devotion to me, Krishna. Devotional service to Krishna without deviation means engaging oneself in the 9 processes of devotional service, chanting, hearing, worshipping, offering respect, etc., as described in the last verse of the 9th chapter. So, even-mindedness comes from becoming free from the entanglement of ups and downs of material life. And then when we are free from the entanglement, we're even-minded, then it is very easy to develop constant and unalloyed devotion to Krishna. We can always be engaged. Our life is steady, so we can always be engaged in chanting, hearing, worshipping, and offering respect to Krishna. Aspiring to live in a solitary place. One may test himself by seeing how far he is inclined to live in a solitary place without unwanted association. Prabhupada is saying this is the test, because we all are very happy when we are amidst a lot of people and and getting, as long as we are, um, we mix our spiritual life with material aspirations. But the test is if we can sit quietly in a solitary place and be Krishna conscious. Not that we should be solitary, we should always be in the association of devotees. But Prabhupada's point is that is the test. And this is why our japa is actually the test of our Krishna consciousness. Because the japa we're not doing to show someone the skills of our kirtan. The japa is not something that we are doing to show the number of books or the plates of prasadam that we distributed or the nice prasadam that we cooked. The japa we are not doing to show how well we dress the deities. The japa is just our time that's being taken in some activity for which we are getting no material respect. Once in a while, someone will say, "Oh, he chants his rounds very nicely." Someone notices. Or sometimes people make a profession out of their japa, where they become professional chanters. That's not good. But for most devotees, chanting is just something that they do, which they're not recognized for, but it's very important. So if that is going well, and we're able, and we're inclined, that's our favorite part of the day, that is our real Krishna consciousness. That shows the truth of our Krishna consciousness. That I'm not just doing this. Another one, reading books and scriptures. I'm doing this so that so many people will hear my lectures and I will be known as a very, very learned person, a very great devotee because I know so much Shastra. Unlike all those things, the japa is something we do quietly. And if we have an attraction to that, that means we have a genuine attraction to Krishna's holy names. And that is the test. That is real Krishna consciousness. Detachment from the general mass of people. Naturally, a devotee has no taste for unnecessary sporting or cinema, going or enjoying some social function, because he understands that these are simply a waste of time. We take so much mental stress on, I didn't get invited here, or these people are not including me. But a devotee thinks that actually this is a waste of time. And sometimes we go to a sports function or a movie and we think, oh, this is so great. But actually, when we come back, we realize, you know, we didn't get anything from it. You know, it was about someone else and their life, their sports and their thing. It's about the people who are playing the sports. They are getting honored this, that. But what did we gain from it? We spent 2 hours watching football. I don't, but people do on television or tennis or the World Cup is going on right now. But what do we gain? We didn't become more expert. It's the illusion, right? We watch them. It's like, oh, I'm getting better. I'm such a, we identify with the characters in the screen. So our team is winning, so we think we are winning. But actually, our skill is not improving. Why are we watching their skill? If we want to improve ourselves, we should go outside and kick a ball ourselves. If we want to enjoy, then we should go and enjoy ourselves. Why we are going to the movie and watching someone else's enjoyment? They're enjoying in the film. We are not enjoying. So this is simply a waste of time. It's part of the illusion that by watching someone else's enjoyment, I am enjoying. We are getting more miserable because we're not enjoying and we're hankering for it more and more. Accepting the importance of self-realization. This service of the individual soul to the Supreme Soul is eternal, nityam, as it is clearly stated. So bhakti or devotional service is eternal. One should be established in that philosophical conviction. So all the things that we accomplish in this world, they they vanish with the body. So someone becomes, a famous sports star, and at the age of 40, no one cares for them. They make the headlines, and then they're like, oh, one of the past legends of sports. No one watches them, no one cares for them because it's gone. All the effort, the anguish, years and years of effort is gone. The only thing that stays with us eternally is devotional service. Whatever service we do for Krishna, that is eternal. Right? That always stays. So how nice is devotional service? It's not just that Krishna is eternal and the soul is eternal. These two things are eternal. But the service that the soul does for Krishna, that the devotee does for Krishna, is eternal. It's never wasted. It's never lost. It's never forgotten. And it always stays with us. We always are benefiting from it. So devotional service is eternal. It stays with us always. Philosophical search for the absolute truth. One should make research by philosophical discretion into the nature of the soul. One should make research to understand the self. Hmm. Yes. So we are doing so much research. I remember I had a professor. He was a material science professor, material science. And he would be 7 days a week in his office, 7 days a week. We would never see him come in. He was like the first one to come at 6 in the morning. We would never see him leave. He would leave 10 o'clock at night. Very thin, fit person. All day he was in his office. And he was on some research project for years, for like 6 years. Well, my undergraduate and graduate I did there. I never saw him. American person. He was getting some taste. It must have been some rasa, studying, Krishna's material energy. He didn't realize it was Krishna's energy, but he was, anything about in this world gives us taste because it has some connection with Krishna. So, so it's, but so much research, but no research into the understanding of the self. Of all the descriptions of the process of knowledge, the most important point is described in the first line of the 11th verse. Mai chananya yogena bhaktir abhyavicharini. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So if one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. But if one takes to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within him. And this is the beauty of devotional service. Prabhupada says, if one cultivates all the other 19 items, is so humble, tolerant, all these things that we talked about, but one does not have devotion to Krishna, no value. Why? Because they won't last. On the other hand, if one is engaged in devotional service, automatically all 19 items develop. It's amazing. So why are we talking about them? Only because we're not fully engaged in devotional service. So we try to cultivate them intentionally. Very important to do that at our stage. But ultimately, if we're engaged in Krishna's devotional service, all these have to manifest. They have to, because if you're not working for yourself, you're 100% only working for Krishna, then one has to be humble. Because pride it's about me, right? It's about me. That's pride. If everything is about Krishna and his devotees, serving Krishna means serving his devotees, serving every living being because they're connected to Krishna, trying to bring them to Krishna, then one automatically has to have all these. That's why it said in the body of the devotee, all the transcendental qualities are automatically manifest. Yasya deve parabhaktir yatha deve tatha guru tasyate katita vakyam prakashante mahatmana. It said that one who has unflinching faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord, in such a person, all the qualities of the demigods automatically manifest within their form, within their person. Because if one's engaged in their service, the Lord and his devotees, then one has to become perfectly qualified. Okay, so we actually didn't make as much progress as I was thinking, but this is very important, especially for myself. I was very much enjoying relishing this. So let's see how quickly we can get through the rest of the chapter, because hopefully we can finish it if possible. So this was jnana. Everything that we talked about was one of the 6 questions of Arjuna. We talked about Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana. Now we're talking about Gyeya. The soul and the super soul are the real objects to be known. Not just even Krishna, we have to know ourselves, the soul, which is part of Krishna. The soul is a type of Brahman that is eternal and subordinate to the Supreme Brahman. The super soul is all pervading, transcendental, all reconciling, undivided, and the source of all knowledge and enlightenment. This is the super soul. The object of knowledge is the super soul. He has senses everywhere. He is the source of everything, and he is without senses. So, without material senses, but then he's present everywhere, and his senses are present everywhere. Relationship to living entities maintains, devours, unattached. Devours means he maintains the living entity and he also causes their annihilation, and he's unattached. Modes, he's the master of the modes. We are inside the modes, he is master of the modes, unaffected. Where, far and near, in the heart, other source of light, subtle, undivided. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the supersoul exists, pervading everything. So last time we found out, we discussed, what does it mean that his everywhere are his hands and legs and ears, his everywhere heads and faces? What does that mean? Does anyone quickly, one can say, what did we decide?
He's present in everyone as super soul. So
Mm.
the possibilities is present everywhere.
Yes, very good.
It's the
But
ability
mm,
and legs. We took the example of Olympian or sportsmen
mm,
or researchers.
mm. Yes, so our hands and legs and our ears are actually his hands and legs and ears. And when Krishna wants something done, he does it through his living beings. So it's kind of like, his agents are everywhere, and every single one of us is his agent. Sarvata pani padam tat. Everywhere are his hands and legs. Prabhupada in a lecture on this verse says, so how you can escape God's eyes? Sarvata pani padam tat sarvato chakshu. Everywhere God's eyes are there, so you cannot escape. You are wanting witness? Here are so many witnesses. How can you hide your sinful activities? That is not possible. You can hide yourself from the material laws, that the police has not seen me, then I may escape. No, God's law, you cannot do that. That is not possible. So we should remember it, that when we act sinfully, then there are so many witnesses, and we have to be punished. You cannot escape. Kam ku svayam svayam. These are so many gods, witnesses, and over and above them, Swayam, the personality of Godhead, in his supersoul feature. Lecture Srimad Bhagavatam, 6142, June 8th, 1976, Los Angeles. Sarvata Pani Padam Tat. The Lord has his hands and legs everywhere. You'll find that Krishna has nothing to do. He's simply enjoying with the gopis, the cowherd girls, and Radharani. He's not killing the demons. The Krishna who kills the demons is Vasudev Krishna. He is not the original Krishna. Krishna expands himself. The first expansion is Baladev. From Baladev comes Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Vasudev. So in his Vasudev feature, Krishna acts in Mathura and Dwarka. But Krishna in his original feature remains in Vrindavan. Lecture given on Radharani's appearance day in London, September 18th, 1969. Krishna in his original feature remains in Vrindavan. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:13-8. Translation: like the whirl of a lotus flower, surrounded by its petals and leaves, Krishna sat in the center, encircled by lines of his friends, who all looked very beautiful. Every one of them was trying to look forward toward Krishna, thinking that Krishna might look toward him. In this way, they all enjoyed their lunch in the forest. Purport: to a pure devotee, Krishna is always visible. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti, and as indicated by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita 13:14, Sarvata Pani Padam Tat Sarvato Kshishiro Mukham. If by accumulating pious activities, Krita Punya Punja, one is raised to the platform of pure devotional service, Krishna is always visible in the core of one's heart. One who has attained such perfection is all beautiful in transcendental bliss. The present Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to keep Krishna in the center. For if this is done, all activities will automatically become beautiful and blissful. So, this is the point, that Krishna is everywhere. So that's why the devotee is only looking at Krishna, because Krishna must always be in the center. This is the pastime here. Their whole focus is Krishna. There's so many things. There's food, there's trees, but Krishna is in the center. Just like this is our whole philosophy, right? It's not just that we don't do anything and we just, try to stay in a constant gaze on Krishna. No, we're cooking, we're eating, all these things. But all of it is blissful because Krishna is in the center. One is doing it only for Krishna. One's cooking for Krishna. The Lord's agents can act as his hands and legs. So this is the point here. Both points are true, like we had the comments. One is that Krishna himself as Paramatma is present everywhere. So in that sense, he is everywhere. His hands, eyes, ears are everywhere. The scriptures are telling us, which Prabhupada is telling us here, that look, don't do sinful activities. Don't think that you can get away with it. Because Krishna is watching. And then another way he's present everywhere is through his agents. So Krishna is so kind. If you're actually sincere to the service of Krishna, then he has got agents everywhere. Sarvata Pani Padam Tat, Bhagavad Gita 13:14. He has got hands and legs everywhere. Wherever he will order, the things will come. Simply we have to become sincere. Then everything is there. Wherever he will order, the things will come. So that's the pastime of Magrari, right? Once he becomes a devotee, everyone is coming and giving him food. If Krishna is there, things will come. Lecture Srimad Bhagavatam 110.5, August 28th, 1973, in London. Srila Prabhupada's mission: the Supreme is different from the individual soul. The Supreme Lord can extend his hand without limit. The individual soul cannot. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Bhagavad Gita 13:16. The Supreme Lord is far away, but he is very near as well. So that is his form, but his inconceivable form. His hand can go extend and everywhere through his agents or personally himself. And though he's far, he can also be near. Though he's near, he can be also far. He is the source of light in all luminous objects, He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge. He is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Ultimately, Krishna is everything. He's all six of these things. Through his energies, he is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, everything. The science of kshetragya, jnana, and gyeya is most fully understood by the Lord's devotee. Why? Because the devotee sees Krishna in all places, in all persons, in all situations, and at all times. All of these ways, constantly, he's saying. When he sees a person coming to him who's very annoying, he sees, this is Krishna coming to me through this person to teach me humility and tolerance. When he sees a troublesome situation coming to him, he sees, this is not the troublesome situation, this is Krishna coming to me to teach me surrender. To summarize, one may understand that verses 6 and 7, beginning from Mahabhutani and continuing through Chetanadhriti, analyze the material elements and certain manifestations of the symptoms of life. These combine to form the body or the field of activities. And verses 8 through 12, from Amanitvam through Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, describe the process of knowledge for understanding both types of knower of the field of activities, namely the soul and the supersoul. Then verses 13 through 18, beginning from Anadi Matparam and continuing through Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam, describe the soul and the supersoul, or the supersoul. Describe the soul and the Supreme Lord, or the supersoul. So we saw this, right? 18 through 12 described what is knowledge and the process of knowledge, starting from amanitvam, which is humility, through philosophical search for the absolute truth, tattva jnanartha darshanam. And now, 13 through 18, we've understood how Krishna is the goal, and Krishna is actually everything. He's present within the heart of all living beings. Now, text 20 to 26, we have the description of Prakriti, nature, and Purusha, the enjoyer. All good and bad events, transformations occur in matter. So we are now discussing Prakriti and Purusha more. So good and bad events, what we call good and bad, this is only in the realm of Prakriti. Why? Because this is the relative world. In the spiritual world, there's no good and bad. It's only transcendental. And this is the yin yang, right? This is but three of them. This is sattva, rajas, and tamas. These are the gunas, how they're transforming. And therefore, we have things that are very good or very bad, or a mix of good and bad, things that are passionate, things that are peaceful. The Purusha is the soul and the supersoul, changeless. Prakriti is material nature, which is constantly changing, constantly changing. The Purusha, which is changeless, when it identifies with Prakriti, it becomes full of anxiety because it thinks that everything is changing, when in fact our nature is not to be subjected to time and death. Srila Prabhupada's mood, it really does not matter how these living entities or superior entities of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, how and why this actually took place. The happiness and distress resulting from such events is caused by the Purusha's identification with Prakriti. The desire to enjoy forges the bond between Purusha and Prakriti. There is a second type of Purusha, the Supersoul, who is never entangled like the ordinary Purusha. Knowing this causes liberation. So, how do we become entangled? Only Krishna knows. But what we do know is that it's our desire to enjoy separate from Krishna, enjoy separate from Krishna that forges the bond between Prakriti and Purusha. And that desire manifests in so many ways so that we get so many forms. And our face is the index of the mind. Our face exhibits the desires that we have. Purusha prakriti stohi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sadasadyoni janmasu. And it's this bond that makes us connected with sadasadyoni, so many different forms of life. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. Under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. How he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with the different modes of material nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. Srila Prabhupada's mission. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. Yes. So we come to this material world because we want to be Krishna, and that desire to be Krishna is the desire to dominate, because he is the Ishvara, we want to be Ishvara. And the more we hear and chant, we lose that desire to dominate. And we then are able to enjoy spiritual happiness. So text 24 tells us the results. One who understands Prakriti, Kshetra. Prakriti is what makes up Kshetra, the body. Purusha, Kshetragya, the Jiva. Also the Kshetragya, the super soul, the second knower. And their interactions attains liberations. So congratulations, everyone. By understanding this, you have attained liberation. One can achieve this understanding through various types of yoga, of which bhakti is the easiest and best. So this understanding, unfortunately, so qualifying what we just said in the last slide, is not just theoretical. It is not just jnana, it is vijnana. And one can only know this when one is actually experiencing it. And this is something yesterday someone was saying, that how they had just finished reading Prabhupada Lilamrit, and they're saying how it's so amazing, Prabhupada, how his final days and the final chapters of the Lilamrit, how we read about this, but he's actually living it. Like he's fully understood that he's not this body. He doesn't care for the body. It's like something that's functioning or dysfunctioning. He's not just saying that, but he's so unconnected with his body that his mind is so clear that he's translating Bhagavatam. They're just so moved by the whole thing, not just the Bhagavatam part, but the whole part of Krishna, of Prabhupada, being actually a living example. So reading it is one thing, realizing it is one thing, and that realization can't be faked. There's no shortcut. That is through bhakti. Only through bhakti yoga can we come to the actual realization. again to that point that through Bhakti Yoga, all the qualities manifest. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age, no one needs to change his position. No one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization, and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. Prabhupada is assuring us. He is saying it will be gradual, but he's assuring us that if we take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him, follow in his footsteps, do as they have done, not make our own process, that elevates us to the position of a pure devotee. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. The final section, the result of liberation through knowledge, realized vision. The realized person can distinguish spirit and matter in all circumstances, and he sees the indestructible supersoul always accompanying all the indestructible living entities. Thus, seeing the supersoul everywhere, he acts in proper knowledge and never degrades himself by pursuing the selfish desires of the mind. So one has to live it. One needs to distinguish between spirit and matter in all circumstances. And see the supersoul always. The supersoul is there. So we should never degrade ourselves by falling again into the material consciousness. The soul never mixing with the body. Just as a sky space pervades all things and is yet uncontaminated by them, or as a sun illuminates all things yet remains unaffected. Seeing in this way, one becomes liberated. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, we should always understand that the soul is always distinct and transcendental to all the material workings and movements of this body. It's transcendental. It's unaffected. So anything that happens in our life, any difficulty that happens, we are always transcendental to that. We're never lost in that, right? No matter how horrible things are around us, or not. But my point is that no one can degrade the soul. That's the point. Because the soul is always transcendental. Okay, so I'll stop here. I went a little over time. So unless there's a burning question, we can end here. Anyone have a burning question? We can take maybe one question. Otherwise, we'll end. Okay, Rupal Mataji. Yes, your hand.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, what a nectarian class. I learned wonderful. So I just wanted to share one reflection after attending your class. So chapter 2 talks about you are not this body, and that is ignorance. And you mentioned today, you helped me to connect chapter number 18, that pride is, so that that mode of ignorance is coming to the pride which is mentioned in chapter number 18. Is that right way to understand, Prabhu?
Yes.
Right?
That's the correct way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. And one thing you helped me to realize is anything any devotee is doing should not bother anyone. So that was, I was trying to do something, and it was like some reflection. So this key point I'll keep in mind, that anything any devotee is doing should not hurt, or it doesn't, basically, it is a very simple thing. Everyone should be happy when a devotee is doing something. So the wonderful key takeaways, Prabhu.
Yes.
Your class is so nectarian. I can't thank you enough. Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful comment. Yes, the way we serve should inspire others to serve, right? So our service is very important, but the way we serve should also inspire others to serve. Simultaneously, Prabhupada said that his service made many people unhappy. And he said, especially the parents of some of my disciples, right? Because when they became devotees, the parents were not happy. Why did they become devotees? They wanted them to become materialists. So materialistic people may be disturbed by the devotees' activities. Just to qualify what I said to your comment, materialistic people may be disturbed. However, those are materialistic people. I mean, it's kind of expected. The point is that, and they're disturbed just because of the spiritual activity. But the point is that the devotee himself is not disturbing anyone, causing others to be disturbed, but rather serving in such a way that is inspirational to others.
Yes, Prabhu. And can I replace this humility and pride? Can I replace this pride with gratitude? Humility and
Yes.
gratitude. Opposite of pride would be gratitude, Prabhu.
Yes,
Oh, thank you so much.
absolutely.
Wonderful.
Actually, this is a wonderful point that you mentioned. What do we replace it with? We replace it with gratitude. Always, this is the way the devotee thinks, and this is how they stay humble. Exactly what you said. That when a devotee is honored, they immediately think, oh, this belongs to my spiritual master. It belongs to Krishna, because they're the ones who are everything. Who, if there's any goodness in me, it's their goodness shining through. If there is anything good, so how do great devotees accept respect? We wash their feet or all these. They immediately pass it on, which means gratitude. That I am a fallen soul. I'm only here because of my spiritual master. Because they're so grateful, they don't feel proud. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. So we'll end here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki.
Jai.
Thank
Jai.
you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dhanvat
Thank
pranam.
you.
Thank you,
Dandavat
Prabhu.
pranam.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you,
Prabhuji,
Prabhu.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
pranam, Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam
Thank you.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Vaishnavi Devi.